All right, Catherine. This is Catherine Kaler.
Hi.
She is the math teacher at Hawthorne High School. And yesterday I saw her, what class?
You saw me in 7th grade class.
Very good. Okay, so just take me through what you were doing yesterday in terms of what you wanted the kids to accomplish.
Well, yesterday, do I look at you?
Yeah, look at me. Just forget about that.
Okay. Yesterday, we were reviewing for a test today. We had a test on multiplying and dividing rational numbers, which most people know as mixed fractions. And so we wanted to make sure we understood for the test.
Okay.
And we did well.
And they did well.
They did well.
Excellent. So what do you mean by well? Describe that a little bit.
Well, out of 18 students, 10 got an A.
Ooh, good. Right. Excellent. Excellent.
5 of them got a 100%.
Excellent.
So we did something right.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Okay.
What do you think you specifically did to contribute to that success?
Well, I'd like to think I made the explanation understandable, realistic. I explained earlier in the lesson, not just yesterday, but how we use fractions and rational numbers in real life. So they bought into it.
Okay, so you said a couple of really important things. The explanation, the model that you used, you probably taught it step by step, made sure that each piece was taught explicitly one step at a time. Number 2, you made it real to them, right? So last in-service, remember, we talked about value and importance to the students. And so that you injected some of that as well.
Yes.
Specifically yesterday, you used whiteboards.
Yes.
And I know you do that often. So talk to me a little bit about how you use them and what impact you think it had on the kids' learning.
Okay. We use it a lot for review. And we also use it at the first of the lesson to make sure they're getting it. I usually put a problem on the board. I ask them to write it on their whiteboard, work it out, hide it, so nobody can copy from them.
What did you say?
I said, write it and hide it.
Yeah, write it and hide it. I thought that was cute. Yeah,
yes.
That's good.
And then when I'm ready, it looks like everybody's finished, and I tell them to show me, and then I go through and make sure everybody got the right answer. If they didn't, I talk to them a little bit, explain what they did wrong. And then we do it again. And the kids really like working on those little whiteboards.
So, and I would agree with that. I think your use of whiteboards, and I've seen you do it before, is just textbook. Because of the things you said. First of all of them, 100% of them, you expect them to write the answer.
Right.
And then you inspect at 100%. I mean, if you saw yourself, you were around saying yes, 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 no, no. Look at that again, look at that again. I saw you a couple times kind of circle around, maybe do a little mini reteach. And then you were able to decide after you did that whether you gave them another type of that problem or you moved on to a different set of problems. Right. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what made you decide to go from, let's say, a mixed number to dividing fractions?
Well, when I felt comfortable that they all understood it, the last time they all got it right, and I said, okay, yay. So I thought, okay, now it's time to try the other type of problem that we were going to have on the test, and that was dividing.
Right. So remember in Spark we talked about RAM,
yes.
The acronym RAM, reteach, abandon, move on, and practice. I saw you work those through yesterday. You did some mini reteaches as you went around the room. And then you decided that you could move on to the next objective and have them do a little more practice on that one. So all of that is extremely helpful for the kids and probably contributed to their success on the test today.
Yes, I do.
The one thing I think that's really important, and I want to really highlight this, is your use of whiteboards impacted student motivation. Did you see that happening yesterday and how that, just the whiteboards itself, helped with their motivation?
Yes.
How's that?
Well, a lot of times, they're just going, do we have to do this again? But when you pull out the whiteboards, I don't know what it is about it. They just love writing on them.
Yeah.
Of course, they start out drawing pictures, but
well, you have to, that's a classroom management issue that
yes.
you don't have any problem with. Once you tell them to stop, they pretty much listen to you. But in Spark, we talked about 5 elements of motivation, and I just want to highlight those 5 things and how just the use of whiteboards contributed to their motivation. So the first one we talk about is level of anxiety. So you know, you just said it, if I'm doing individual work and you have to write it and hide it, I'm accountable for that, right?
Right.
I don't get to hide behind my buddy, or I don't get to hide behind somebody in front of me.
Right.
You say, show me, and you got to produce. So kids are more motivated because they know they have to produce for you.
Right.
That's the first one. The second one that's huge is success. Don't you feel like as you're doing those problems and as they're checking, they're getting it right, they're feeling success. Their success ratio is going way up because they're like, oh, I got it right. Oh, I got it right. Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yes.
And they're just, all of a sudden, in fact, one time I have to really have you hear this, but the little boy said, I really like these. You know? Yeah. He said, I really like these. And I put success by that because, again, it was because you were checking, you were making sure that everyone got the right answer, that they felt more motivated to try the next one. And then the third element of motivation is feedback. And you were giving feedback
right away.
Right away, specific and immediate. If they didn't get it right, you told them what they got wrong. If they did get it right, you told them why they got it wrong. Right, and you put it up on the board so they could see it immediately. They got it right or wrong. So that knowledge of results motivates kids to say, oh, I know what I can do next time to do it either the same and get the same success, or I know what I need to do a little bit differently to become successful.
Right.
It's huge. And then the I in motivation is interest. And you said it. You know, I don't know what it is about whiteboards, but they like them. And so it's novel. It's just a different approach. You take out the whiteboards, you have to get up, they have to move over to go get them. All those things just kind of break up the day, break up the monotony of some things. So novelty creates interest, and then your feeling tone is always great. You're rooting them on, you're saying yay, you're cheering them on. They want to work for you. And those are all elements of motivation. So my question for you is, how do whiteboards benefit you? Because we just went through how the kids feel. What's the benefits for having whiteboards for you?
Well, like you noticed, all of them, every single student would do it. If I were just to give them an assignment, they look like they're working, but if I walk around, a lot of times they're not. And then it's, like you said, and it's instant. I can tell right away whether they've got it or not.
Yes.
And whether I need to start back from the beginning and reteach.
And probably there's less reteaching because you see the mistakes that are made right there and then, instead of a homework assignment or another quiz that you give, or today in the test, now they have 3 objectives they could have gotten wrong, or yesterday they were able to get those errors, catch them quickly, and make the changes. Yeah, that's beautiful. One of the things that you wanted me to give you some feedback on was that lower class, that second hour.
Right.
So when I was watching them, I had a couple of questions on that. And one, where are they struggling academically? Because behaviorally, they're pretty good for you.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. You have your days.
I have my days.
That's all right. But academically, what's their low points? What are they struggling with?
They're struggling with the basic math skills.
Oh, they are.
They are. That group is. If I ask them, a simple, how many times, does 3 go into 9? I have several students who just sit there and think and think and think.
Yes.
They don't know it just like that.
I know, it's interesting because I did notice that. I noticed how many times that as you went around and gave individual feedback, you asked them, what goes into that number? How many times does it go into that number? How many times is 4 going to 12, or 4 going to 16, or 9 doesn't go into 32 evenly?
Right.
So they're struggling with just basic math
the
facts.
basic facts.
Do you have any idea why that is?
I do not. I do not have a clue.
Well, I think I have some ideas about that, and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. The first one is, how often do you review just basic math facts with them? Just basic?
Just basic.
3 times 5, 4 times 4, just basic math facts.
Pretty much just the first of the year.
Okay. So here's my thought on this, and we're going to talk about this on Friday at the in-service, so it's like a preview kind of coming attractions for you, right?
Yes.
You'll know all the answers. But one of the things that we we really emphasize in retention is this idea of distributed practice, which means basically you teach it for mastery one place, but then you spiral the learning all the way throughout the year. And if you don't have that spiraling, oftentimes kids will forget, they have to be reminded, they have to be retaught. But it's kind of like when we first learned to drive a car. You know, we did it often. We had a driver instructor, I'm sure, or my dad took me out on the farm roads and told me to hope, hope for the best. That's what we did. It was ugly. But I learned, right, how to drive a stick shift, and I practiced, and I did it often when I was, 16 and 17. But then the beauty of not forgetting how to drive a car is what? We do it every day almost, right? We do it almost every day. So my thought was with these kids is that at one point they probably learned their multiplication table to mastery, but then no one has picked up the mantle of keep spiraling that learning. So if you think about like yesterday, in your class periods, how could you structure some time to distribute that learning still? How could you still spiral that up?
Well, I could probably do a sponge at the first, when they first come in, have a short little ditty for them to practice on.
Mm-hmm.
Or when they're finished, same thing for an exit
ticket. Sure.
An exit ticket,
Yep.
Put a couple of multiplication problems up and say,
Mm-hmm. Maybe even 5 or 6 on just a basic task, just to keep them refreshed. Have you ever thought of, and those are great ideas, and because you want to keep them up with the math facts. Otherwise, like you said, they can't do the other more complex stuff because they just keep going back to that same old math facts, like 5 times 3 is 15, for sure. The other one is maybe, have you ever thought about doing a visual representation, maybe a chart, if you will, on how many that they master, and then they can kind of track their progress or see how many, if you go up to 13s or 15s or whatever it is, see how many that they can master and do speed math. Have you ever kind of put that back in there?
I've seen it at the elementary school, but I've never done it myself.
What do you think about that?
I think it's, like you said, something visual so they can see where they're going, that they're improving.
Yeah, which ties back to what we talked about with motivation, in that if they see they're improving, then they may feel more successful.
Mm-hmm.
And all those other things that you said, bell work, exit ticket, maybe some kind of multiplication games, flashcard games, do things like quiz trade with multiplication facts that go very fast at the beginning of a lesson, maybe a couple times a week or something, but just to keep those basic math facts fresh in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do that?
I think I can.
I
think you've given me plenty of examples with the Spark training that I need to go through it. You need to read Spark.
That's right.
Yes.
But I know you will do it because that's just who you are. You get stuff done like that. So we talked about a couple of things today. Humor me right now.
Okay.
The first one was your use of whiteboards.
Whiteboards.
And how that impacts student learning, right?
And motivation.
And under motivation, correct. And then this idea of distributed practice. So what do you see as meaningful pieces of this conversation in regards to those things?
Well, you've been very positive and it makes me feel better.
That's good. I like that.
You like that?
I like that.
Just hearing that, and then seeing on the test that it worked, that something's going right. They seemed excited, I've seen them before get discouraged and some of them just want to quit.
Yeah.
But if we keep, nobody quit the whiteboards though.
No, they didn't.
They didn't.
And that should, speak to the novelty of it, the success ratio we're building.
Mm-hmm.
Motivation is hard at times to get for kids, especially in math. But when you do a few things that, just like you spoke of, then that motivation level goes up. Kids are willing to try for you. And I think in that lower class too, once they kind of get over this hump of just basic math facts, and they feel more successful on that,
Right.
it's probably going to impact a lot of the other objectives as well, don't you think?
Right.
Well, thanks, Catherine.
Oh,
I
thank
appreciate you so much. You're
She's
good.
awesome. And she didn't pay me to say that.
I will though.